The throne room stretched out like a cathedral of crystal and light. Captain Taman walked across the polished floor, his boots clicking against the smooth surface. Every step echoed in the massive chamber. He could feel thousands of eyes watching him. Valorum nobles stood along the walls, their bodies shimmering with colors that shifted like oil on water. Their telepathic whispers buzzed at the edges of his mind. Just beyond understanding, he had fought the Valorum for 7 years. He had seen their warships burn human colonies. He had watched friends die in the cold vacuum of space. Now he stood in their throne room, wearing his dress uniform, about to make a choice that would bind humanity to its former enemy. The peace treaty was simple. The war had cost both sides too much. Humanity had proven it could fight, could win, could make the Valorum Empire bleed. That was enough. The Emperor offered one of his daughters in marriage to seal the peace. A political bond, a symbol of unity. Taman knew it was really about humiliation. The Emperor wanted to show that even in peace, the Valorum were superior. The Emperor sat on a throne that seemed carved from a single massive diamond. His skin glowed with deep purple patterns that marked him as royalty. His eyes, entirely black with no whites, fixed on Taman with obvious contempt. "Captain Taman of Earth," the Emperor said, his voice booming through the chamber. "You have come to choose a bride from among my daughters. This is a great honor for your species." Taman said nothing. He had learned during the war that silence was often the best response to Valorum arrogance. "Bring forth the princesses," the Emperor commanded. 7 women entered the throne room in order of their rank. The first was Myray, the eldest. Her skin shimmered with brilliant purple and silver patterns. She moved with perfect grace, her telepathic presence radiating confidence and power. She looked at Taman like he was an insect beneath her notice. The second princess, Sora, glowed with blue and gold patterns. She was known across the empire for her beauty and her skill in political manipulation. She smiled at Taman, but her eyes were cold. The third, fourth, and fifth princesses followed. Each was magnificent by Valorum standards. Their colors were bright and pure. Their telepathic abilities washed over Taman like waves of pressure. They were everything the Valorum valued: powerful, beautiful, connected to the highest levels of court politics. The sixth princess entered, and Taman could feel the shift in the room. She was favored by many nobles, brilliant and ambitious. She would make a strong political ally for whoever married her. Then the seventh princess walked in, and the telepathic whispers turned to mocking laughter. Her name was Harin. She walked with her head high, but Taman could see the tension in her shoulders. Her skin patterns were muted browns and golds, colors that the Valorum considered ugly. She wore simple robes while her sisters wore elaborate gowns. She stood at the end of the line, physically separated from the others. Taman had done his research. During the war, he had captured Valorum data archives. He had spent months studying their culture, their history, their science. He knew things about the Empire that most humans did not. He knew that Harin was the Empire's greatest xenobiologist. She had published research on interspecies compatibility and communication that was decades ahead of anything else in the galaxy. But her work had been suppressed by the Imperial Court because it suggested that humans and Valorum were more similar than different. That was dangerous thinking in an empire built on superiority. He knew that she had been isolated her entire life, valued only for her mind while being mocked for her appearance. He knew that she was considered unmarriageable by Valorum standards, a political dead weight. The Emperor gestured to his daughters. "Choose, Captain. Any of my daughters would honor your species with her presence." The first 6 princesses stood taller, each confident that the human would choose one of them. The nobles in the chamber placed mental bets on which it would be. Most thought he would choose Mireille for her status, or Sora for her political connections. Tammin walked past the first princess. She radiated dismissive superiority. He walked past the second, the third, the fourth. Each one barely acknowledged him. He stopped in front of the sixth princess, the one favored by the betting nobles. She smiled at him with practiced charm. "A wise choice, human," she said telepathically, her thoughts pressing into his mind. Timon turned away from her and walked to the end of the line. He stopped in front of Harren. The throne room went silent. Even the telepathic whispers stopped. Harren looked at him with wide eyes. Her skin patterns flickered with surprise and something else. Fear, maybe. Or hope. "I choose Princess Harren," Timon said clearly. The silence shattered. Telepathic shouts of disbelief crashed through the chamber. The other princesses stared in shock. The nobles erupted in chaos. The emperor's skin patterns flared bright with anger before he controlled himself. "You choose the seventh?" the emperor asked, his voice tight. "Are you certain, Captain? Perhaps you do not understand Valaram's standards of value." "I understand perfectly, Your Majesty," Timon replied. "I choose Princess Harren." The emperor's face twisted into something between rage and contempt, but the treaty was binding. The human had made his choice. To refuse now would be to break the peace before it began. "Very well," the emperor said coldly. "Take her. May you find what you deserve in this match." The nobles laughed. They thought the human had chosen poorly out of ignorance. They thought he had insulted himself and his entire species by choosing the least valuable princess. Timon extended his hand to Harren. She stared at it for a long moment, then slowly placed her hand in his. Her skin was warm, almost hot to the touch. Her hand trembled slightly as they walked out of the throne room together. Tammin could feel the weight of Valarim contempt pressing down on them. He could hear the telepathic laughter following them down the corridor. Harren walked beside him, in silence until they turned a corner and left the throne room behind. Then she stopped and looked at him directly for the first time. "You have made either the wisest or most foolish choice of your life, Captain," she said in perfect human English. Her voice was quiet but steady. "Time will tell which." Taming met her eyes. They were completely black like all Valarim eyes, but there was intelligence there, depth, something that none of her sisters had shown. "I know exactly what I chose," he said. "I chose the only person in that room worth choosing." Harren's skin patterns flickered with colors he had never seen in a Valarim before. Surprise, he thought. Or maybe something deeper. She said nothing more as they walked to the waiting human shuttle. But Timon noticed that her hand had stopped trembling in his. Behind them, the Valarim Empire celebrated what they thought was a victory. The human had chosen the worthless princess. He had humiliated himself, but Tamon knew something they did not. He had studied the ancient Valarim texts that the modern empire tried to forget. He had seen the old legends about brown and gold patterns. He knew what Harren might truly be, and he knew that he had just made the most important choice of his life. The human flagship Indomitable cut through space at faster than light speed. In his quarters, Captain Timon reviewed tactical reports while trying not to think about the woman in the room next door. His new wife. His political burden. His choice. The crew whispered about him. He heard the rumors in the mess hall, saw the questions in their eyes. Why had their captain chosen the ugly princess? Had he lost his mind? Was it some tactical move they did not understand? Only Commander G1 dared to ask him directly. She entered his office without knocking, her arms crossed. They had grown up together in the orbital colonies above Earth, had fought through the war side by side. She had earned the right to speak freely. "What were you thinking?" G1 asked. Timon looked up from his reports. "I was thinking clearly. The entire Valarim court was laughing at you. At us, at humanity. Let them laugh. Timon said calmly. Do you know who Princess Harine is? Jiwan frowned. The ugly one. The reject. Timon pulled up a file on his display. She is the greatest xenobiologist in the Valarum Empire. She has published over 200 research papers on interspecies biology, cultural adaptation, and communication theory. Her work on human-Valarum compatibility was suppressed by the imperial court because it threatened their entire ideology of superiority. He pulled up another file. She speaks 17 languages fluently, including perfect human English, Japanese, and Russian. She has studied human tactical patterns for years. She knows more about us than most humans know about themselves. Jiwan stared at the files. Why would the Emperor offer her if she is so valuable? Because he thinks she is worthless, Timon said. He sees only her appearance. He thinks I chose poorly out of ignorance. But I did not choose a beautiful princess to parade around. I chose an ally. Someone with a mind sharp enough to help humanity navigate this peace. Jiwan was quiet for a moment. Does she know this? I have not told her yet, Timon admitted. You should, Jiwan said, before she thinks you are just another person who sees her as worthless. After Jiwan left, Timon sat in silence. His commander was right. He had chosen Harren for her mind, but he had not explained this to her. What must she think? That he chose her as an insult to her father? That he pitied her? He found her in the observation deck. She stood before the massive window, watching stars streak past as the ship traveled faster than light. Her muted brown and gold patterns looked almost beautiful in the starlight. Princess Harren, he said. She turned to face him. Just Harren, please. I am no longer in my father's court. Timon walked to stand beside her at the window. I want to explain why I chose you. You do not need to explain, she said quietly. I understand politics. You chose me to insult my father, to show that humans do not value Velarem's standards of beauty. It was a clever move. No, Tim said firmly. That is not why I chose you. She looked at him with surprise. I chose you because I spent the war studying your people, Timon explained. I captured data archives. I read everything I could find. And I found your research. Your papers on interspecies compatibility. Your analysis of human tactical patterns. Your theories on cultural communication. Harren's skin patterns flickered with colors he could not identify. You are the smartest person in that throne room, Timon continued. The only one who sees beyond species barriers. The only one who might actually believe in this peace. I did not choose you for your appearance or your status. I chose you for your mind. Harren turned away from him. Her shoulders shook slightly. For a moment, Timon thought she was crying. Then he realized she was laughing. My entire life, she said softly, I have been told I am worthless, malformed, a genetic mistake. I was valued only for my research, and even that was suppressed when it became inconvenient. And now a human soldier, of all people, tells me he values my mind. She turned back to face him. Do you know what these patterns mean? She gestured to her brown and gold skin. In ancient times, before the current imperial line took power, these colors marked the royal bloodline, the original emperors. But 10,000 years ago, there was a coup. My ancestors were overthrown. The new emperors declared these colors a deformity. They erased our history from the records. Timon stared at her. You are descended from the original royal line? A recessive genetic trait, Harren said. It appears once every few generations. My father knew what it meant. That is why he kept me close but powerless. He used my mind while ensuring I could never threaten his rule. Why are you telling me this? Timon asked. Because you chose me for who I am, Harren said. Not for what I represent. That is more honesty than I have received in my entire life. So I will be honest with you in return. They stood together in silence, watching the stars. Taman felt something shift between them. Understanding, maybe. Or the beginning of trust. I also grew up as an outsider, Taman said after a while. In the orbital colonies. Earth's elite looked down on us. Called us spacers. Said we were not real humans. I had to fight for everything. Prove myself again and again. Then, we are both children of rejection, Haran said softly. Over the next few days, they spent more time together. Haran showed him her research, explaining complex theories in simple terms. She had a gift for teaching, for making difficult concepts clear. Taman shared his tactical knowledge, showing her how humans adapted and improvised in battle. The crew began to notice the change. Their captain and the Velaran princess talked for hours in the observation deck. Sometimes they argued about scientific theories. Sometimes they laughed at shared experiences of being outsiders. G1 watched with approval. Maybe you did know what you were doing, she told Taman. Then the alarm started blaring. Taman ran to the bridge. Report. 3 Velaran warships decloaking, the tactical officer shouted. They are broadcasting extremist signals. They refuse to accept a peace treaty. On the main screen, 3 ships appeared from nowhere. They were smaller than the Indomitable, but faster and heavily armed. They are hailing us, the communications officer said. Put them through. Taman ordered. A Velaran commander appeared on the screen. His skin patterns glowed with bright, pure colors. His voice was filled with rage. Captain Taman, you have committed an abomination. You have taken a daughter of the Empire and defiled her with your presence. We cannot allow this insult to stand. The treaty was approved by your Emperor, Taman said calmly. The Emperor is weak. The commander spat. He has dishonored us all by giving a princess to a human. We will correct his mistake. Surrender the malformed one, and we will let your crew live. Taman cut the transmission. Battle stations. Evasive maneuvers. The Indomitable was a powerful ship. The 3 against 1 was bad odds. The Velaran warships opened fire. Energy weapons tore through space. The human ship's shields flared bright as they absorbed the impacts. Shields at 70%, Tactical reported. Return fire, Taman ordered. Target their weapon systems. The Indomitable's railguns launched magnetic projectiles at near light speed. One Velaran ship took a hit to its weapon banks and broke off. But the other 2 kept pressing the attack. Shields at 40%. Hull breaches on decks 7 and 9. Taman watched the tactical display. They were losing. The Velaran ships were too fast, too coordinated. In another minute, the shields would fail completely. Then Haran walked onto the bridge. Captain, she said quietly. Let me help. This is a combat situation, Taman said. Please return to your quarters. I can stop them, Haran insisted. But you have to trust me. Taman looked at her. Her skin patterns were flickering rapidly, showing colors he had never seen before. Deep golds. Burning bronze. Something ancient and powerful. Shields at 20%. Tactical shouted. Taman made a choice. Do it. Haran walked to the viewport. She closed her eyes and placed her hands against the transparent surface. The temperature on the bridge began to rise. And then everything changed. The air on the bridge crackled with energy. Haran stood before the viewport, her eyes closed, her hands pressed against the transparent surface. The temperature climbed rapidly. Sweat broke out on the faces of the human crew. Then Haran's skin patterns ignited. The muted browns and golds exploded into brilliant light. Ancient colors blazed across her skin, deep amber, burning bronze, molten gold that seemed to pulse within her fire. Patterns swirled and shifted like living flames. The light was so bright that several crew members had to shield their eyes. "What is she doing?" Jiwan whispered. Tamin could not answer. He could only watch. Harin opened her eyes. They glowed pure gold, with no trace of black. She opened her mouth and screamed, but it was not a sound. It was a telepathic wave that erupted from her mind with the force of a nuclear explosion. Every Velarim within range felt it crash into their consciousness like a physical blow. On the attacking warships, crew members fell to their knees, clutching their heads. The wave did not stop at mines. It tore through electronic systems, through computer networks, through the delicate machinery that controlled weapons and shields and life support. The Velarim ships went dark. Their engines cut out. Their weapons powered down. They drifted in space, completely disabled but intact. On the Indomitable's bridge, every screen flickered. Lights dimmed. Then everything stabilized. Harin collapsed. Tamin caught her before she hit the floor. Her skin was burning hot. Blood poured from her nose, her ears. Her skin patterns were fading back to their normal muted colors, but they flickered weakly, like a dying flame. "Medical team to the bridge." Jiwan shouted into the comm. "Now." Tamin carried Harin to the medical bay himself. The ship's doctor, a veteran named Dr. Park, immediately began scanning her. His face grew more concerned with each reading. "Her nervous system is overloaded," Dr. Park said. "Whatever she did, it pushed her body beyond its limits. She's burning up from the inside. Can you save her?" Tamin demanded. "I do not know. I have never treated a Velarim before, let alone one who just did. Whatever that was." Tamin held Harin's hand. It was still burning hot. "Do whatever it takes." For 6 hours, Harin lay unconscious while Dr. Park worked to stabilize her. The human crew secured the disabled Velarim ships and took their crews prisoner. The extremists were shocked into silence, terrified of what they had witnessed. When Harin finally woke, Tamin was sitting beside her bed. He had not left since carrying her to medical. "How long?" she asked weakly. 6 hours, Tamin said. "You almost died." "I know," Harin whispered. "I could feel it. My body was tearing itself apart." "What did you do?" Tamin asked. "What was that power?" Harin tried to sit up. Tamin helped her lean against the raised bed. She looked exhausted, her skin patterns dim and faded. "I told you, I am descended from the ancient royal bloodline," she said. "What I did not tell you is that the bloodline came with gifts. Abilities that modern Velarim have lost." She took a shaky breath. The ancient emperors could manipulate energy directly. They could interface with technology using only their minds. Their telepathic abilities were so powerful they could reach across star systems. That is how they built the first empire before the coup. "You have these abilities," Tamin said. "Yes," Harin confirmed. "The recessive genetic trait does not just change my colors. It awakens the old powers. But they are dangerous. Using them puts enormous strain on my body. If I push too far, it will kill me." "Have you always had these powers?" Tamin asked. "They awakened when I was young," Harin said. "I was terrified. I hid them from everyone, especially my father. I knew that if he discovered I had activated the ancient bloodline powers, he would have me killed. He keeps me alive because I am useful and powerless. But a useful person with the powers of the old emperors? That would be a threat he could not allow." Tamin absorbed this information. "So you have been hiding who you truly are your entire life?" "Yes," Harin said quietly. "Pretending to be weak. Pretending to be just a scholar. Never using my abilities, no matter how much I wanted to." "Why did you use them now?" Tamin asked. "You could have stayed hidden." Harin looked at him with her black eyes, now returned to normal. "Because you chose me. Not for my power, because you did not know about it." Not for my status, because I have none. You chose me from my mind, for who I truly am. She reached out and took his hand. That is the first time anyone has ever valued me for myself. And when those ships attacked, when they threatened to take you away, to kill the first person who ever saw me as more than a mistake or a tool, I could not hide anymore. I would rather die using my power to protect you than live hiding who I am. Tienin felt something tighten in his chest. This woman, who had been dismissed and mocked her entire life, had nearly killed herself to save him, to save his crew, because he had chosen her. You said using your powers could kill you, Tienin said carefully. How often can you use them safely? I do not know, Harren admitted. I have used them so rarely, always in secret, always holding back. What I did today was the most I have ever released at once. It nearly killed me. But I think, with practice, I could learn to control them better. Use them more efficiently. Dr. Park approached them. Princess Harren needs rest. A lot of rest. Her body needs time to recover. I understand, Harren said. But there is something the captain needs to know first. She looked at Tienin seriously. When I disabled those ships, I also touched their communications networks. I saw their messages. They are not alone. There is a larger group of extremists who refuse to accept a peace. And they know about me now. They know what I can do. How many? Tienin asked. At least 50 ships, Harren said. Maybe more. They are organizing, planning. They want me dead before I can become a symbol of something they fear. What do they fear? Tienin asked. Change, Harren said simply. The old bloodline returning. Humans and Velarim actually working together. Everything they believe about Velarim's superiority being proven false. They will come for me. For us, Tienin stood. Then we will be ready. You do not understand, Harren said. They will not just attack the ship. They will go to Earth. They will threaten your homeworld to force you to surrender me. And there are factions within the human government who will want to do the same thing. Some will see me as a weapon to be controlled. Others will see me as a threat to be eliminated. What are you saying? Tienin asked. I'm saying that by choosing me, you have made enemies on both sides, Harren said. Your own people and mine will come for us. And I do not know if we can survive what is coming. Tienin looked at this woman who had nearly died saving him, who had hidden her true self for years out of fear, who was now warning him about the storm that was approaching. I made my choice in that throne room, Tienin said firmly. I chose you, and I do not regret it. Whatever comes, we will face it together. Harren smiled, a real smile that lit up her exhausted face. Together, she repeated. I have never had anyone stand with me before. You do now, Tienin said. Over the next few days, as the Indomitable traveled toward Earth, news of what happened spread across the galaxy. The Velarim Empire erupted into chaos. Factions formed overnight. Some demanded Harren's execution for using Forbidden's powers. Others whispered that the ancient bloodline had returned, that the false emperors would finally fall. On Earth, the human government received reports about Harren's abilities with alarm and interest. Some officials saw her as a valuable asset. Others saw her as a dangerous unknown. Admiral Yunji, the head of Earth Defense Forces, sent a message directly to Tienin. Bring the Velarim princess to a secure facility immediately upon arrival. She must be evaluated. Tienin deleted the message. Jiwan found him in his office. You are not going to follow orders? My orders were to choose a bride and bring her to Earth, Tienin said. I am following those orders. Nowhere in the treaty does it say I have to hand her over to be studied like a laboratory experiment. They will come for her, Jiwan warned. I know, Tienin said. That is why we are not going to the capital. We are going to my family's estate in the Korean countryside. And we are taking only soldiers I trust completely. You are starting a rebellion, Ji-won said. I am protecting my wife, Timon corrected. If that is rebellion, so be it. Ji-won smiled. Then I am with you. Your fights have always been my fights. The Indomitable dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. Ahead lay home. Behind lay the gathering storm. And somewhere in between stood Timon and Harin, two outsiders who had found each other, preparing to face a galaxy that wanted them separated. The estate sat in the green hills of the Korean countryside, far from the gleaming towers of Earth's capital. Taman's family had owned this land for generations, back before humanity reached the stars. Old stone walls surrounded traditional buildings, mixed with modern defenses. It was isolated, defensible, and most importantly, it was home. Timon stood on the wooden balcony of the main house, watching the sun set over the hills. Inside, 40 soldiers loyal to him prepared defensive positions. They were all veterans who had served under him during the war. They knew what was coming. Harin joined him on the balcony. She had recovered from using her powers, though she still looked tired. She wore simple human clothing now instead of Velarum robes. It made her look smaller, more vulnerable. It is beautiful here, she said quietly. Peaceful. It will not stay peaceful for long, Timon said as if to prove his words. Ji-won climbed the stairs to the balcony. Her face was grim. Admiral Yoonji is demanding your immediate surrender. She says you have 48 hours before she sends a strike team to take Harin by force. What about the Velarum? Timon asked. 3 warships have entered Earth's orbit, Ji-won reported. They claim they are here to retrieve a criminal who used Forbidden's powers. They are also demanding we hand over Harin. Timon looked at Harin. You could run. I could help you disappear. Where would I go? Harin asked. There is nowhere in the galaxy where they will not hunt me. At least here, I have you. I am just one soldier, Timon said. You are the only person who has ever stood up for me, Harin replied. That is more than anyone else has ever done. Ji-won cleared her throat. There is one piece of good news. Messages are coming in from across the galaxy. Other Velarum with the recessive trait, descendants of the old bloodline. They have been hiding just like Harin, but now they know they are not alone. They want to help. How many? Timon asked. Unknown, Ji-won said. But enough to worry the Emperor. He has declared a state of emergency. There are reports of fighting in several Velarum systems. Harin's skin patterns flickered with surprise. My father is losing control. Because of you, Ji-won said. You showed them that the old powers still exist, that the ancient bloodline is real. Now everyone with those colors is wondering if they have the same abilities you do. Timon made a decision. Then we use this. Harin, can you contact these others telepathically? Over interstellar distances? Harin shook her head. That would require more power than I have ever used. It would probably kill me. What if we amplified your signal somehow? Timon asked. Use technology to boost it? Harin considered this. It might work, but I would need access to a powerful transmitter, and I would need to interface with it directly using my abilities. It would still be dangerous. We have a communication array here, Timon said. Military grade. If we can connect you to it, could you reach out to your allies? I can try, Harin said. Over the next day, they worked frantically. Dr. Park built an interface that would allow Harin to connect to the communication array without frying her nervous system. It was experimental, risky, but it was their only chance. Meanwhile, Timon's soldiers turned the estate into a fortress. They set up defensive positions, installed shield generators, and prepared for the inevitable assault. They all knew the odds. 40 soldiers against Earth's military and Valarum warships. It should be impossible, but humans had a reputation throughout the galaxy. They fought impossible battles and somehow survived. They adapted, improvised, never gave up. That was why the Valarum had feared them enough to make peace thought as they worked. Timon and Haren found moments to talk. They sat together in the garden, surrounded by earth flowers Haren had never seen before. She asked him about his childhood, about growing up in the orbital colonies, about learning to fight. He asked her about her research, about the universe beyond Earth, about what it was like to hide who you truly were for so long. I spent my whole life pretending, Haren said. Pretending to be weak. Pretending to accept my place. Pretending I did not have these powers burning inside me, desperate to be used. It was exhausting. You do not have to pretend anymore, Timon said. No, Haren agreed. But now I have to fight. I am not sure I know how. Fighting was never what I wanted. I wanted to study, to learn, to bridge the gap between species through knowledge. Sometimes knowledge is not enough, Timon said gently. Sometimes you have to fight for the right to share that knowledge. Haren looked at him with those black eyes that he was learning to read. How do you stay so calm? We're about to be attacked by 2 different military forces. We are going to die. Maybe, Timon said. But I have been in impossible situations before. I have seen humans hold positions that should have fallen in minutes. I have seen us win battles we had no right to win. We survive because we refuse to give up. Humanity is stubborn, Haren said with a small smile. Very stubborn, Timon agreed. It is our best quality. That night, Haren stood before the communication array. The interface Dr. Park had built connected directly to her nervous system through neural contact points. She looked fragile and powerful at the same time. Are you ready? Timon asked. No, Haren said honestly. But I am going to do it anyway. She closed her eyes and activated the connection. Her skin patterns blazed with ancient colors. The communication array lit up, energy flowing through circuits that were never designed for this kind of power. Across the galaxy, dozens of Valarim who carried the old bloodline suddenly felt her presence in their minds. Haren spoke to them telepathically, her thoughts amplified across light years. She told them who she was. She told them about the ancient bloodline, about their shared heritage, about the powers they might possess. She told them that the time for hiding was over, and she asked them to help her. The response was overwhelming. Valarim from dozens of worlds reached back, their voices filling her mind. Some were scholars like her. Others were soldiers, merchants, artists, farmers. All of them had lived in hiding, ashamed of their colors, unaware of their heritage. Now they knew the truth. And they were angry. Haren opened her eyes. Blood ran from her nose, but she was smiling. They are coming? Not all of them, but enough. Ships are already on their way. How many? Jaiwan asked. 20 vessels, Haren said. Small ships, personal craft, nothing military. But the people aboard them have awakened their powers. They have been practicing in secret, just like I did. Together, we might have a chance. Timon felt something like hope stir in his chest. How long until they arrive? 3 days, Haren said. Can we hold that long? Before Timon could answer, alarms blared. Jiwan checked her tactical display and cursed. They are not waiting 48 hours. The strike team is coming now, and the Valarum warships are descending from orbit. Timon ran to the defensive command center. On the screens, he saw military transport ships approaching from the capital. He saw Valarum warships cutting through Earth's atmosphere, heading straight for the estate. All positions, prepare for combat, he ordered. This is not a drill. He turned to Haren. Get to the shelter. Stay safe until this is over. No, Haren said firmly. I am not hiding anymore. I stand with you. You are still recovering from the telepathic transmission, Taman argued. Using your powers now could kill you. Then I will die fighting beside you, Harren said. That is better than living in hiding. Taman looked at this woman who had spent her whole life pretending to be weak, now standing tall and ready to face death. He saw the determination in her eyes, the strength she had always possessed but never been allowed to show. Together then, he said. Together, Harren agreed. They walked out onto the balcony as the sun set behind the hills. The sky was filled with approaching ships, human military transports from one direction, Galaram warships from another, an army coming to take Harren away, to study her or kill her or use her as a weapon. But Taman stood beside her, his hand in hers. Around them, 40 loyal soldiers took their positions. They were outnumbered, outgunned, facing impossible odds. It was exactly the kind of fight humans were known for. The first shots lit up the evening sky. Energy weapons and railgun fire streaked through the air. The battle for Harren, for freedom, for the right to choose your own destiny, had begun. And neither Taman nor Harren knew if they would survive to see the sunrise. Dawn broke over the Korean hills with fire in the sky. The battle had raged through the night. Taman's estate was surrounded by smoking craters and fallen drones. His 40 soldiers had held their positions against the first wave of attacks, but everyone knew it was just the beginning. Taman stood in the command center, exhausted but alert. His tactical display showed the full scope of what they faced. Earth's military had deployed 500 soldiers around the estate. The 3 Valaram warships held position above, their weapons trained on the buildings. Below. Admiral Yunji's face appeared on the communication screen. She looked tired too, but determined. Captain Taman, this has gone on long enough, she said. Surrender Princess Harren now. This is your final warning. What will you do with her? Taman asked. She will be taken to a secure facility for study, the Admiral said. Her abilities could change the balance of power in the galaxy. We need to understand them. She is not a weapon to be studied, Taman said. She is a person. She is a security threat, the Admiral countered. You saw what she did to those Valaram ships. Imagine if she used those powers against Earth. We cannot allow that risk. So you would imprison her? Taman asked. Lock her away because you fear what she might do. If necessary, yes, Admiral Yunji said coldly. Hand her over, Captain. That is an order. Taman cut the transmission. Jiwan looked at him with worry. They are going to come in force now. We cannot hold against 500 soldiers and those warships. I know, Taman said. Then Harren entered the command center. Her skin patterns were glowing brighter than Taman had ever seen. Ancient golds and bronzes swirled across her skin like living fire. I have a plan, she said. But you are not going to like it. What kind of plan? Taman asked. I am going to walk out there and challenge my father to single combat, Harren said calmly. According to ancient Valaram law, he cannot refuse without losing face before the entire empire. And if I win, his rule is forfeit. That is insane, Jiwan said. He's one of the most powerful telepaths in the galaxy. He has been training his abilities for centuries. You have been hiding yours your whole life. I know, Harren said. But I have something he does not. I have studied 17 species, learned how they think, how they adapt. I can see patterns he cannot. And I have help. She looked at Taman. Will you stand with me? Be my anchor in the fight? I cannot do this alone. Taman understood what she was asking. She wanted him to link with her telepathically during the battle. It would be dangerous for him, possibly fatal. His human mind was not built for telepathic combat. Yes, he said without hesitation. Harren walked to the garden at the center of the estate. She raised her hand and released a pulse of telepathic energy that rippled across every Valarum frequency. It was a formal challenge, broadcast across the galaxy. "Father," she spoke directly into the Emperor's mind. "I am Haran, daughter of the ancient bloodline. I challenge your right to rule. Face me in single combat, or be known as a coward for all time." The Emperor's flagship descended from orbit. It was massive, dwarfing the other warships. It landed in the hills beyond the estate, crushing trees beneath its weight. The Emperor emerged, his skin patterns blazing with imperial purple and silver. He walked toward the estate with the confidence of someone who had ruled for 200 years. "Admiral," Yunji contacted Taemin again. "What is happening?" "Ancient Valarum law," Taemin explained. "Single combat between bloodline challengers. Even your military cannot interfere without breaking every treaty we have." "This is madness," the Admiral said. "This is politics," Taemin corrected. "Valarum politics." The Emperor stopped at the edge of the garden. He looked at his daughter with contempt. "You challenge me?" he said. "You, who hid your powers your entire life. You, who I allowed to live out of mercy. You allowed me to live because you feared what I might become," Haran replied. That fear was justified. She stepped forward into the open space between them. Taemin walked beside her, his hand in hers. "A human?" The Emperor laughed. "You bring a human to a telepathic duel? He will be destroyed in the first seconds." "He is my anchor," Haran said. "My choice. My partner. Something you would never understand because you have never valued anyone as an equal." The Emperor's skin patterns flared with rage. "Then you will both die together." The battle began. It was not like any physical fight. The Emperor struck with pure telepathic force, waves of mental energy that would shatter an unprotected mind instantly. Haran met the attack, her own powers blazing to life. The air between them crackled. Reality seemed to bend. Every Valarum watching felt the echoes of their clash, rippling through telepathic space. Taem held Haran's hand and felt the connection open. Suddenly, he could sense her thoughts, feel the incredible strain as she fought against her father's overwhelming power. The Emperor was stronger, more experienced, more practiced, but Haran was smarter. She adapted. She changed tactics every few seconds, never giving the Emperor a chance to predict her next move. She used techniques from 17 different species fighting styles, blending telepathic combat with psychological warfare with pure tactical innovation, and Taemin grounded her. His human mind, so different from Valarum thinking, gave her an anchor point outside the telepathic maelstrom. She could retreat to his thoughts when her father's attacks became too intense, then strike back from an angle the Emperor never expected. They fought as one. Haran's ancient power channeled through their connection, amplified by Taemin's tactical mind. The Emperor began to falter. This was not how the fight was supposed to go. The malformed daughter should be easy to defeat. But she was pushing him back, forcing him to defend. "Impossible," he gasped telepathically. "How are you doing this?" "Because I'm not alone," Haran said. "I never learned to fight alone. I learned to work with others, to value different perspectives, to find strength in unity. You only know how to dominate." She struck with a combination attack that would have been impossible without Taemin's connection. A human tactical feint combined with Valarum telepathic power. The Emperor's mental shields cracked, but the strain was too much. Haran's nose began to bleed. Her skin patterns flickered. She was pushing herself to the absolute limit and beyond. "Haran, you need to stop," Taemin said. "This is killing you." "I know," she gasped. "But I am so close. I can win this." The Emperor sensed her weakness. He gathered all his power for one final devastating strike. If it landed, it would destroy Haran's mind completely. Taemin made a choice. He ran forward, breaking cover, putting himself between Harren and the Emperor. He had no telepathic shields, no mental defenses. He was just a human soldier facing a telepathic attack that could vaporize his consciousness. Stopped the Emperor's strike, hit him full force. Timon screamed. His mind was being torn apart, memories shredding, thoughts scattering like leaves in a storm. He felt himself dying, but he also felt Harren reaching for him through their connection. She poured her energy into him, holding his mind together with her own power. And in that moment of perfect unity, something impossible happened. Their connection became a weapon. Harren channeled the Emperor's own attack back through Timon's human neural patterns, transforming it into something the Emperor could not defend against. It was telepathic power filtered through human thinking, creating a hybrid assault that struck with the force of two species working as one. The Emperor's mental shield shattered. His consciousness reeled under the impact. And in that moment of vulnerability, Harren struck one final blow. She did not kill him. She simply broadcasted the truth. Every crime he had committed. Every lie he had told. Every person he had murdered to maintain power. 10,000 years of tyranny laid bare for every Valorem in the galaxy to see. The Emperor fell to his knees, his skin patterns flickering with shame and defeat. His own fleet turned against him. His guards arrested him. Harren collapsed into Timon's arms. Both of them were bleeding, exhausted, barely conscious. But they were alive, and they had won. The next few weeks passed in a blur. The Valarum Empire descended into controlled chaos. The descendants of the ancient bloodline emerged from hiding. They did not seize power through violence, but through truth. They revealed the history that had been suppressed, showed the galaxy what had been taken from them. Admiral Yunji withdrew Earth's forces. She had witnessed something unprecedented, a human and a Valarum fighting as perfect equals, as partners. It changed her perspective on what the peace might mean. 3 months after the battle, Timon and Harren stood before the newly formed Galactic Council. It was a different organization now, no longer dominated by any single species. Humans and Valarum served together, along with representatives from dozens of other races. Harren wore formal robes that honored both Valarum and human traditions. Her skin patterns glowed freely now, brown and gold and ancient bronze. She was no longer hiding who she was. Timon wore his military dress uniform, standing beside her as an equal. They had been appointed as ambassadors, representatives of a new kind of cooperation. Not one species dominating another, but genuine partnership. As they addressed the council, Harren spoke about the future, about breaking down barriers between species, about valuing different perspectives, about building something better than what came before. Tamin watched her speak, and remembered the first time he saw her in the throne room.